it seems like.
Yeah.
beds and 2 ping pong tables.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could we please have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm just going to add right now that we do not have the sign-up sheets anymore for public comment. We will be having our first public comment. It is a half-hour long on agenda items only. So if you would like to speak, you can line up to speak, and we'll see how many people are. So if there's not a lot, you can take a little bit more than 2 minutes, but if there's people there, we only have a half hour, so let's try to be reasonable to one another and do it 2 minutes apiece. And then our second public comment is at the end, and that is on any item that's not on the agenda, too. Yep. Can I have a vote to seal the minutes of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And there were no votes taken in executive session. So we'll move right on to public comment on the agenda items only.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Dupree-Copeman. I am the parent of a 4th grader at Wyman and a parent of an 8th grader here at Vets. I'm also a clinical social worker. I'm here tonight to talk about the responsive classroom that's on the agenda tonight. I have a couple of questions. I noticed that you request for 30 people to take the training. I'm wondering what that looks like. Would that be in one school or in several schools? I'm also curious as to how many teachers and administrators are already trained. And I would like to know what the ultimate training goal is. Like, how many teachers and administrators do we want to see trained? I would also like to know how this approach fits into our overall SEL plan for our district. I use the word approach because this is approach. It is not a curriculum. It does not provide material to teach. What it does is it changes the way teachers look at how children are behaving, and then it gives the teacher the language to guide the children to promote a positive and communal classroom. I think that's a great goal. But it takes a lot of practice, time, and lots of energy from the teacher. I think if that's the goal as to where we want to be, I think we need to look at where we are now. Our children are in a mental health crisis. According to a Rhode Island poll of 3rd graders to 5th graders, 29% of our children are reporting feelings of sadness, and 41% are reporting feelings of anxiety. Therefore, 80% of our children from 3rd grade to 5th grade are coming to our school dysregulated. That means in a classroom of 26 children, 20 of them are dysregulated, and 1 teacher. I suggest that if this is our goal of a responsive classroom, that we put some supports in so that we can get to that goal. I suggest that we hire trained professionals that already know how to work with children that are dysregulated. They already have the skills and the experience. and they know how to deal with children that are expressing stressors from COVID, from all of the other worldly, unprecedented stressors that we have right now. So in order to create this goal, I think we need to take some other steps before that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Darlene Netco, lifelong resident of Warwick, homeowner, taxpayer, voter, English teacher in the system of 32 years, and Warwick Teachers Union president. I'm commenting on the agenda items at the very end of the agenda, which would be the schedule for the budget hearings that are beginning during our vacation week and then continuing into the following week. Since the public is here, and the public might not be aware that our school system has been underfunded for the past 12 years. Ever since the Great Recession and the State Senate and House passed a one-time only resolution allowing cities and towns to underfund school districts by up to 5% below maintenance of effort. Just a reminder to everyone, Warwick was the only city or town that took the full 5% and never gave it back. So in effect, our schools have been operating under a deficit since that point. And that is a point that our previous superintendent made in every year except last year. Last year, he presented an allegedly balanced budget, and he hamstrung the district for this year, which was disgraceful. He is the person who suggested to the school committee to cut sports and make other draconian cuts a few years ago. He's the one who underfunded the WISE pension up to, I think it was $1 million or something, $400,000, $4 million, some ridiculous amount. And yet last year, automatically, magically, we had no monetary problems. He is the superintendent who closed secondary schools, elementary schools, eliminated many WTU positions, many WISE positions, and then pronounced the district right-sized. So as you enter this budget season, I know that you're operating behind the 8 ball. And I just think the public needs to be aware before there's a lot of commotion about how much the schools cost and how terrible the school committee is and how terrible the administration is. It isn't this school committee and this administration that has caused the problems. It's a city council from 12 years ago that took money, or Mayor Avedisian, that took money and never gave it back. And it's a superintendent last year that did not give this district the money it needed to operate this year. And I know with talks of new high schools and the bond and the amount that's going to cost, there's a lot of concern about money, but there is no more important investment than our children. And if you want our children to be able to learn and prosper, then you have to put the money behind it. And as far as the comments about test results, children are not widgets. As the previous speaker said, the children have been under a great deal of strain, more so than ever. I mean, the 21st century has been stressful in general, but the pandemic has caused problems we don't even know about. But I don't want to hear all of the daggers that are probably getting sharpened right now to throw at our school committee and our administration, when a previous administration, as I said, hamstrung it, and a previous city hamstrung it 12 years ago. Thank you.
Tracy McDermott, taxpayer, teacher assistant in Warwick. Ditto what Darlene just said about the budgetary woes of the last 12 years. I want to discuss a couple budgetary items. They're not specifically on the agenda, but the 2022 fiscal budget is on the agenda. I'm going to specifically address the rumors circulating about ESY and the budget decisions and emails that we received. If you're going to allow me the grace to do that, because it is within the budget. Yes, okay, thank you. So most people know, some people do not. We received an email from the Director of Special Education saying that this year's extended school year program was going to include 4 weeks of ESY lasting 4 days, Monday through Thursday. Previously, in years past, many years past, we've had 5 weeks of 5 days. Prior to that, it was 6 weeks of 5 days. When I started, which was 18 years ago, we had 8 weeks of ESY for 5 days a week. So 40 days we have now been possibly reduced down to 16. And those services will only be for students attending the alternate assessment programs, the preschool programs, and the transition program in person. Every other student would be virtual. That is the email we received from the director. The next day, we got an email from the superintendent, which clearly said those were just roundtable discussions about the budget. Central administration team has been meeting as part of the budget process to present a fiscally responsible budget to the school committee. We have to make some budget adjustments. One of these discussions was to have some special education students attend ESY virtually, while others would attend in person. Again, no final decisions were made. I'm glad no final decisions were made. Horrified, to say the least, that this would even be a discussion in a budget meeting. Determination for ESY for students with IEPs are made by the school IEP teams. Social workers, school psychologists, the teachers, the parents, and either the director of special services, the assistant director, someone from the school department. Those decisions are not made based on money. They're made by the needs of the students. And then to separate some students from other students. The preschool program, which encompasses multiple different special education programs, were lumped into one, I'm guessing, not because of their individual education plan, but because of their age. I work in a classroom, an IES classroom, intensive emotional support classroom, K through 2. So that piece of paper is telling me somebody had a discussion that said the 5-year-old in my class, they can work on the Chromebook for 4 weeks alone because the parent is probably working, so I'm not sure who's gonna supervise that. But the 4-year-old at the preschool, exact same program, they can come in person. Now, 2 years ago, at the height of the pandemic, the decision was made by the administration and the school committee, those children have to be in person. Doesn't matter if nobody's vaccinated. I wore a double mask for 2 years, in person. We all went in person at vets. And now all of a sudden, we're gonna say, oh, they can just work virtually. You all determined their needs were so great that we had to meet in person. Now all of a sudden, ESY, they're gonna go on the Chromebook. And somehow, my intensive emotional support kids, talk about dysregulated. Their issues are anxiety, are social and emotional issues with peers. It is work refusal. We're trained in de-escalating problems. So we're gonna have 16 days of them on a computer trying, well, not we, the teacher alone, because nobody else will have a job. Try to work with those students and expect my K1 and 2 students to get online. The kids that refuse work when we're sitting next to them are gonna get online with a parent, a relative, a sibling, and try to do that work. And there's gonna be a continuum of services. They're gone for 10 weeks in the summer. It takes us all week long to get them back after a week's vacation, after a Monday off. They come back, it takes us days to get them regulated. But we all of a sudden now are gonna go from 40 days to 30 to 25 to 16 days, but only for preschoolers and those in the transition program that go out to the community. How is this a discussion in a financial meeting about the budget? The 12 pages of RIDE's description of ESY specifically says you cannot determine ESY eligibility by the resources available in the district. It is by need. I'm gonna stop. Oh, actually, I'm gonna mention one more thing, because most of you know that I come to every meeting, or I'm online at every meeting. And the last meeting I went to, kudos to Ann Cecil and the grants, over $1 million in grants. Except glaringly, one of the grants didn't come to fruition. That was for surveillance and security. That was a $500,000 grant. I thought maybe I was misremembering that. I went back yesterday and I rewatched the video. It's a $500,000 grant. There isn't one person in this room that asked the question, how are we going to pay for it? Did we buy the cameras? Were they installed? Because I know they were at my building. So they were already purchased and installed. And nobody asked the question, where's the $500,000 coming from? So I'm hoping it's somewhere, but that is the cost of ESY, is that money right there. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for letting me.
Hi, my name is Tara Lavasser. I'm a parent of a student with anxiety in Holloman in 2nd grade. I'm also an aunt to an autistic child who is nonverbal. I'm a taxpayer in Warwick, and I called RIDE for their ESY regulations, and I also called for their WELC regulations. That wonderful teacher is absolutely right. ESY regulations are not by budget. You cannot determine and have one program for all ESY. Districts must ensure that a full continuum of services is available to meet in the unique needs of each child with a disability as determined by an IEP team. There are a variety of ways in which ESY services can be delivered. None of them are virtual. Some of these include a traditional classroom setting, school-based programs that vary in length of schedule, learning packages with staff monitoring, grouping children with similar goals, cooperative programs with other agencies, integration programs, contract services with service providers or agencies, vocational settings. Also, as you may know, these children are the highest risk for regression and recruitment analysis. Extended school service year and WELC programs eligibility is determined and only determined by the IEP team through regression and recruitment analysis of the severity of academic achievement and or functional skill regression loss of a child experiences as a result of the interruption in special education services. The amount of time which you are taking away. WELC is going from 4 hours to 2.5. So you're taking a 4-hour, that's what you consider full day, to 2.5. You're taking this ESY program, like that teacher said, down to 4 days. So you are creating an interruption. So you are gaining, where did I say, special education service, the amount of time required to recoup and regain the prior level of skill, likelihood retention of learned skills, rate of progress during the school year, and whether meaningful progression of the IEP goals is likely to be significantly jeopardized if the ESY and WELC services are not provided. The IEP team discussions regarding extended school year services are based upon a variety of data, including a retrospective data, predictive data, peer-reviewed research, evidence-based practice, and other critical factors. The IEP considerations include, but are not limited to, the following possible factors when determining the child's individual need for ESY services: the nature and/or severity of the child's disability, the child's rate of learning, the degree of progress of the IEP goals, objective for the children transitioning from early intervention into regular schools, toward the family service plan, the child's stereotypical ritualistic, aggressive, or self-injurious interfering behaviors, the physical needs of our child, emerging skills and breakthrough opportunities, the ability for the child to interact with typically developing peers. How would they do that virtually? Can you explain that to me, how they would do that virtually? And the child's post-school outcomes and vocational needs. Other special circumstances are determined and only determined by the IEP team. As a mother, I'm concerned for my child's sake, I'm concerned for the rest of the children's sake, and I'm concerned for my nephew's autism's sake. I've had multiple children, and one in my daughter's class, enter Bradley this school year because of this. Please, I'm begging you, do not cut the budget for our ESY or WELC students. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
My name is Jessica Forcier, and I have 3 children who attend school at Wyman Elementary. As some of you are aware, we are facing an indisputable and alarming issue that has been percolating for years and is now boiling over. The issue I'm speaking of is the deteriorating social-emotional wellness of our children. This was an already disturbing matter, but the pandemic has only served to exacerbate it. This ever-increasing social-emotional imbalance is causing a state of unrest, sadness, and anger amongst our children, both inside and outside of their classrooms. Children are acting out and crying for help, but without the proper resources and school services needed to ensure they heal, grow, and thrive. This year alone at Wyman, there has been constant infighting in classes, a child who threatened to jump out a window, another child who regularly terrorizes her classmates, and countless other situations that would horrify you. This, of course, is not only occurring at Wyman, but happening across the city at every grade level. Based on what is happening in my kids' classroom, the stories I hear from other parents, and from the mounting evidence by mental health professionals, it is clear our children are hurting. While discussions of RICAS, iReady, and academic benchmarks abound, I rarely see or hear of concrete and successful plans to help with social-emotional learning. Furthermore, children who are in especially precarious states are not being given the proper tools they need to succeed in a school setting, and their classmates are then suffering because of it. This is unconscionable. I understand that tonight you're going to be speaking of new programs that may address some of these issues. However, this feels long overdue and also abstract. We need clear, actionable goals, and we need them now. Please know SEL isn't at odds with academics, but supports it. Proper social-emotional learning is integral to healthy identities, relationships, and equitable education. Furthermore, studies show there is an 11-to-1 return on investment for social-emotional learning. For every dollar spent on SEL, you save $11 on remedial programs, dropout prevention, and other programs. It is our duty to advocate for our children, and the time to advocate is now. Thank you.
Thank you. On to recommended actions. Approval of minutes of public sessions, March 8th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. March 22nd, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of warrants, April 12th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And approval of transfers, April 12th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll move on now to the announcements of personnel as presented by Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. On behalf of Mr. Jerry, Director of Human Resources, we have the following retirements, of which we will need a vote. Retiring science teacher Mark Contenoir with 32 years in education. Elizabeth Uchi Basque, special educator with 21 years. Bonnie Singleton, special educator with 46 years in education, 44 years with Warwick. Lisa Girardi, elementary teacher with 33 years. Jane McIvergan, elementary special educator with 24 years in education, 22 with the Warwick schools. Virginia Bolano, elementary principal, 36 years in education with 31 years in Warwick. And Nancy Sinat, English language arts coordinator with 28 years in education, 26 with Warwick. And those 7 educators represent 220 years of service with 209 years of service in Warwick.
Amazing. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you, everyone who was listed, for all your hard work. Oh, we have one in attendance. Thank you very much for everything you've done for our district and for everyone who's retiring. We really appreciate your hard work, and we wish you well. Please come back and substitute. I tried.
Madam Chair, we've got the following resignations that also require a vote. Michael Haynes, carpentry instructor. Jillian Bradley, elementary special educator. Carolyn Higgins, science teacher. Renee Morby, general accountant, grants. Arthur Kurtz, head custodian. And Rudolph Lavasser, night custodian.
Have a motion to approve?
Move approval. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The following, Madam Chair, are courtesy announcements of appointments. Jennifer Barber, Assistant Director of Special Education. Toby Gibbons, Secondary Principal. William Marcarello, Assistant Director of Construction and Capital Projects. Brenda Pacheco, Teacher Assistant. And Philip Silva, Guidance Counselor.
Motion to approve? Oh, we don't approve those, I'm sorry. Thank you.
And last, we have the unrestricted leave of absences. Maggie Korn, psychologist, and Darlene Netko, English teacher. And we have a parental leave of absence, Rosa Lancelota, foreign language teacher.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'd like to,
Superintendent Dienberg?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I'd like to welcome Toby Gibbons as the new principal of Pilgrim High School. Welcome to Warwick. And with us tonight is also Jen Barber, the new Assistant Director of Special Services. So welcome, Jen.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd also like to recognize Toby Gibbons to the Warwick Schools, wishing them best of luck at Pilgrim High School. And I'd also like to acknowledge Michael Haynes, who resigned. He did 28 years of service for the district. He resigned because he's 50 years old, and he's moved on to another career within the construction industry. But he did do 28 years of service, excellent teacher, and I wish him the very best in his future endeavors.
We will definitely miss him.
Ms.
And-
McCaffrey, I'm 58. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, so.
I'd like to welcome you both into our district, and my door's always open for you both, and I'm sure the rest of the committee. And, you know, please know that we are approachable, and please come to us if we can be of any assistance. Okay, next is the we don't do the coaching recommendations, we just leave, okay. On to the donations and correspondence. Fortunately, I've lost a very wise teacher that retired with us, Joseph D. Quinizio. He worked, I believe, at Windman and at Pilgrim as a carpentry teacher. And we have received a donation of $1,175 to the Warwick Area Career and Tech Center in memory of his honor of his passion for fine woodworking. We don't have to vote on that, do we? Is that it? Yeah. And a recognition, we have a recognition tonight. We have some of our wonderful students here. Our Pilgrim Togi Co-op gymnastics team, they won the state championship. If all you wonderful students can come with your coaches up to the front of the room, we have an award to give to each of you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Hello, ladies. I'd just like to tell everybody a little bit about your accomplishments this season. It was pretty amazing. They broke the team record 3 times in one season with a score of 142.25. They won the Region 2 regional championships with the highest score in the state. They had the number 1 and number 3 ranked gymnasts in the state for the season. In the finals, they went head-to-head with LaSalle and South Kingston, 2 teams that are known previously for achieving the title year in and year out. Most importantly, they won the Division I state championship. They had 2 first-team All-State gymnasts and 1 second-team All-State gymnast. Individually, we had state placements by Riley Bromwich, Katie Indignani, Madison Long, and of course the rest of the team. They placed 6th in New England's and represented Warwick well. We'd like to congratulate you, ladies. Again, that's Division I state champions. It's not easy to be. Yes. Coach Kowalik, would you come up, please? Candace. Thank you. Coach Clift, is Ashley here? Not here tonight? Okay. Riley Bromwich. Kaylee Catucci. Kendall Ferrer. Thank you. Leah Franchetti. McKenna Frischi. Katie Ignani. Grace Mullen. Audrey Paquette. Mandy Lynn Phillips. Not here here today. Okay. Ava Schobel. Okay. Sophia Schobel. Doug Schobel. Yeah. Olivia White. Liana Bannon. Madison Long. Ciara Collins. Cassandra Martinez. Sydney Moradian. Congratulations. And last but certainly not least, Gabriana Paveo. Wonderful job, ladies. Can we have a big round of applause? Ladies, if you don't mind, could you stand in the front so we can take a nice picture of everybody? Thank you.
Okay. I'm just finding shortcuts.
Good idea, Nathan.
Yep. Kathy.
Nothing personal to the kids.
You're the best.
I have a question. When we're eliminating one, we're gonna be eliminating one, what do I have to do? I have never seen this, elimination of a policy. Do I just announce it?
I'd get a vote on it. I'll double check the bylaws just to be safe and get a vote on it.
Okay.
I thought you just amended policy.
No, we're getting rid of one, so. On to adoption of policies. The first policy is KBBA, the use of school department listserv. It's the second reading. As it's already been read, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we're on to ECA, Buildings and Grounds Safety and Security. It's the first reading. Should I read this whole thing? It's pretty long.
I don't think you have to read any of it.
No? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve for the first reading?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then next is EBCF, Pandemic Epidemic Emergencies, the first reading. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the last is JO, Student Records, first reading. Do I have a motion for approval of that?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We do have an elimination of a policy regulation, JOR, Student Records. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, on to new business. First item is discussion presentation of field test presentation. I think we're gonna go sit in the audience for this one. Slideshow? Okay. Oh, my Lord.
We're not ready yet. Good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent Dan Brooke, members of the school committee, invited guests, and panel members. The first slide presentation tonight is our field test celebration. As most of you may or may not recall, our elementary school teachers, over 50 teachers, piloted our two ELA pilot programs. The first one was EL Learn Zillion. We were in approximately 8 weeks, and then following that, we did Wit and Wisdom. And in order to be a green curriculum, we needed to go through these steps, and we have the results of our celebration on March 11th with our 50 teachers. Let's see if I can get this right. Forward. There we go. Nope. Oh, I think we go. All right. So, by overwhelming population, the Wit and Wisdom and Geodes program was unanimous by our 50 or so pilot teachers. The things we discussed with them at the celebration was the questionnaire data. We had 6 or 7 look-fors that you're going to see in a moment. We actually did an activity with the human Likert scale where we had them stand in front of some numbers to tell us how they really felt. And then, of course, there was cake. Again, very, very overwhelming. Wit and Wisdom was chosen. It's not something that we, the district, chose. It was actually in the teachers' hands and the students. So this was chosen by the teachers, the elementary teachers of Warwick Public Schools. We did do some surveys, and we asked the kiddos what they thought, and they told us that they really enjoyed the Wit and Wisdom program. They recognized, I don't know that rigor was their chosen word, but they did recognize the rigor, that things were a little bit harder, and that they did grow as a learner. They did feel that some of the materials built a sense of community. There's an awful lot of artwork that's involved in this program that students really get to dig deep, and it's a much more culturally based program. They did share their thinking in respectful ways, and they learned how to do a Socratic seminar and a couple of other amazing strategies. They became creative problem solvers, and we helped to set goals and help them to grow as a learner. Whoopsie, sorry. This remote's getting the best of me. They look for activity that we did. Again, on a scale of 1 to 4, 1 was strongly disagree, all the way up to 4 was strongly agree, and we had numbers around the room. And as we asked them the different criteria, they got to stand where they felt that they agreed or disagreed. So the first one was, how aligned to the vision of the graduate do you feel that the Wit and Wisdom program is? As you recall, the vision of the graduate is our district initiative to make lifelong learners for our students all the way K through 12. The teachers that were at the celebration voted that either a 3 or a 4, they agreed or they strongly agreed that Wit and Wisdom did coincide with the vision of the graduate components. Does Wit and Wisdom have authentic text? Are we putting books, real live books, in the hands of our students? It's not a Basil series with one thick book with lots of short stories in it. These are real live books that the kids get to touch and feel and take home and read, and they were overwhelmingly excited about that. So again, lots of 3s and tons of 4s. The third thing was, how strong are the foundational skills, and does it have strong word work in the Wit and Wisdom program? And a lot of that is based on the geodes portion of it. That's the kindergarten to grade 2 portion that works on the phonics. And again, overwhelmingly, the 3s and the 4s, 21 and 4. There were a few people that did disagree, and they put the 2, and we asked them why, and they said they felt that the foundational skills should be separate from the word work. It wasn't that it was a negative feedback, they just felt that they were 2 sort of different things. Although they coincide, they are very different, so that's why they voted a 2. We did specifically ask them for feedback in that area. The next component was integrated writing. And again, 30 people thought that it has a great coincide with student writing. If I remember correctly from my Wit and Wisdom training, there's opportunities, approximately 4 opportunities a day for them to do some sort of journal writing, and it's embedded. You know, many years ago, we used to teach in silos, and we were doing, you know, take out your math book, put away your math book, take out your science book, put away your science book. We're finding that with the Wit and Wisdom program, everything is sort of embedded. There's social studies, there's science, there's history, there's art, there's writing, there's literature, there's, like I said, Socratic seminars, there's discussions, there's collaboration. So this writing will really, really, really come into play. Number 5 were the resources for the scaffolding, differentiation, and extension. Sorry, I can't, the table's in the way. Again, 24 and 4 up on the higher end of the scale. And again, a couple people thought that they needed to be a little more differentiation. So when we had some of our trainings, we were able to talk to some of our trainers about what else they have. And again, this geodes portion of the training keeps coming up for differentiation as well as foundational skills. The 6th one is embedded assessments. And again, overwhelmingly, they thought that it did a really nice job embedding the assessments throughout. Some things from something very short, where it might be a writing piece, to maybe something multiple choice, to something just formative or summative, something out loud, maybe walking around with a clipboard. There are a lot of opportunities as well as end-of-unit assessments, but they're embedded throughout. And they're not a separate entity, like we're having a spelling test on Friday. There won't be any of that. So here was the fun part. We could celebrate with our cake, and these are some of our teachers who did pilot for us. Again, most of them are standing in front of the posters that resembled the 4 with this strongly agree. Some of our next steps is we are going to work on some professional development. We have a few things planned for the upcoming months between now and the end of the school year. I know Dr. Schultz will be presenting something later this evening to you. So we needed to present to the school committee. We're working on materials lists, and again, then the professional development piece. A lot of teachers would like to get these materials in their hands prior to leaving for the summer. Some of us overachievers like to do some homework over the summer, so we're hoping that the materials will be available for our teachers prior to that. And thank you to Nancy Sinat for building the slide deck for us. I don't know if there's any questions, but that is the presentation. this like forward and reverse or whatever? Anybody want to be in charge of this, or you want me to do it? Yeah, sure. Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent Danbrook, and members of the school committee. My colleagues and I want to thank you for this opportunity to present Panorama Student Success Dashboard for your consideration tonight. Our multi-tiered system of support, or MTSS framework, for thinking about how our schools and districts can best support our students for success. It's a focus on the improvement process and problem solving guided by data. Our why about this Panorama for Success dashboard is over the past 10 years, we've increased the number of data sources to analyze. Panorama offers one place to access district, school, and student data with ease. It will assist educators in making informed decisions around academic, social, emotional, and behavioral. We just wanted to explain a little bit about our process in picking this. When we were looking at different types of dashboards, we put together a focus group to see if this one would be a good fit for Warwick. The focus group consisted of many different roles throughout the district and different levels at the school. And they attended a presentation from Panorama representatives, excuse me. They were also given a demo account to explore what the dashboard had to offer. And finally, we asked them to provide some feedback on two areas. One, to look at the integration of data, both historic and holistic, and how easy the platform was to navigate. We have a short video for you to watch that gives a little bit of an overview.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm from Panorama, and I'm excited to introduce Panorama's intervention tracking for MTSS and RTI. Today, more and more schools are turning to tiered student support frameworks like MTSS and RTI to reach all students. These supports are key to helping students meet goals and build important skills. Yet, we've seen firsthand how these interventions, while effective for students, can be time and resource intensive for educators. And knowing which interventions are making an impact for which students is challenging work. That's why Panorama has built new intervention tracking and management tools designed specifically for MTSS and RTI. With Panorama, you can quickly plan interventions, collaborate with support staff, set student goals, and progress monitor using the latest information about each student. First, Panorama gives you a menu of evidence-based interventions, as well as those customized for your school or district. Then we add in progress monitoring by syncing information from your district data systems and third-party assessments. By bringing this information together, Panorama gives educators one place to manage and track interventions and provides administrators with clear visibility into each school's tier 1, 2, and 3 interventions in order to build greater coherence and alignment into the work schools are doing to support the needs of the whole child. Best of all, our team is always here to help with MTSS training and professional development and to offer continued support. That's how Panorama helps schools and districts bring their MTSS and RTI frameworks to life.
So as you can see, there are many great benefits to adopting the Panorama program. It has a menu of research-based interventions that can also be customized. As you witnessed in the video, the dashboard is very easy to use. It not only houses intervention, but also monitors and communicates plans for individual students as well as groups. The embedded SEL screener will save money as we are paying for one now, so it will be included in this program. It allows for educators to look at the whole child, which makes for much better planning overall. All data assessments are in one place, so there's no searching for information. It fosters collaboration within the MTSS framework. District and school teams can work on student plans with ease. Its early warning system flags students who are at risk, which is a great benefit. We can easily monitor demographic data without searching. And overall, it's just a great time saver, and it's a very efficient program.
Being very thoughtful about how we roll this out, really doing a slow and steady approach of thinking about how we are going to manage the rollout. What benefit Panorama's implementation team will work closely with our district team to think through how that rolls out. What we were really looking for when we were partnering with them is their close contact with each school and really meeting those schools where they are. We want to make sure that we are knowing what the needs of each school are and what their ability to think through data decision-making and what that looks like currently. Our biggest hope is that all those leadership teams and data teams will get the support and training. However, I think what Nancy just said around that interventionist component is making sure that all of our K-12 interventionists are really truly up and running. This is an amazing opportunity for us to dive in and build intervention goals and be able to really understand the progress that students are making. And that early warning system about flagging will allow us as a district to really hone in and focus on the whole child. So really kind of thinking about that. And I think another benefit and rollout here is that when we get to school committee meetings, we'll be able to utilize the Panorama dashboard to really share and show where our district is in a holistic manner in terms of SEL and academic performance from K-12. Eventually, our classroom teachers will have access just like everybody else, but in our first year or two, they will have more of a view-only access where their interventionists and their leadership teams will be sharing really what is in the plan itself, in the platform itself. So as we said earlier, this was a real huge collaborative approach, and we just want to take the time and thank the people that provided input and feedback to us. As you can tell, the four of us sitting at the table right here, it is a collaboration between many layers of the district. And obviously, when you get back up on the stage, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to ask us, and we just thank you for your consideration of this platform as we really truly look to make data mining a little easier on all of us moving forward.
And our third and final presentation, yep, just one more. Our third and final presentation is item number 25 on the agenda, the responsive classroom training. We did feel that we should put a small slide presentation together prior to asking for approval. Technical difficulties, just a minute. So with me tonight, I want to introduce Mrs. Kristen Murray. She's our K-12 SEL integrationist. Okay, so our Responsive Classroom District Initiative started quite a few years back. So we're going to take you on a little bit of a journey and try to keep this as brief but as important as this is. We thought that this was something we needed to get to this evening. Ooh, I always go the wrong way. So our vision for our Responsive Classroom initiative was the Warwick Public Schools believe that safe and supportive learning communities are crucial in order for students to develop strong academic skills and social emotional competencies in order to be successful learners in and out of our school. We heard from not only Darlene this evening, but 2 of our Warwick parents who verbalized so eloquently how important the SEL components to our day is, and no student can be a learner unless they feel safe and comfortable in their building. Whoop, I'm gonna keep going backwards, sorry. Want to do the next one? Sure.
So Responsive Classroom is an evidence-based approach to teaching and learning. The belief is that in a high-quality education for every student is built on the foundation of a safe, supportive, and strong, joyful school community. And it focuses on the strong link between the academic success and social emotional skills by embedding SEL competencies throughout the day and explicitly during opportunities like morning meeting.
So Responsive Classroom components, it starts with the core beliefs and the guiding principles, and then in conjunction with the teaching practices, that is the whole approach. Again, it's not a platform, it's not a program, it is an approach that is embedded throughout the child's entire day. Again, looking at the whole child. When we go to report nights and they report out the math and the reading scores, they should obviously be reporting out the SEL data as well. And again, from the Panorama presentation you just saw, as well as our Responsive Classroom, we'll be able to dive a little deeper.
So Responsive Classroom contains 4 different domains. So engaging academics is one component. It's really active and interactive, challenging, and connected to student interest types of lessons. The second component is positive community, where teachers and their students build a community that feels safe and engaging, and there's a strong sense of belonging. The third component is a developmentally responsive teaching practice, where children do not go through the development stages we know at the same time, within even the same grade. So physical, social, emotional, and cognitive development are part of the thinking when we're planning lessons. And then lastly, effective management. The program or the approach talks about laying the foundation for positive behavior and preventing off-task behaviors and misbehaviors, and then teaching strategies for teachers about responding to misbehaviors.
These 4 domains have been embedded in our district walkthrough tool. I could speak for the elementary level, and there's a little screenshot of our elementary walkthrough tool. Throughout the summer and at the beginning of the school year, the elementary principals and I and the team with Mrs. Murray and a number of other admins, we sat down and we came up with the walkthrough tool that revolved around these 4 responsive classroom domains. They have been the guiding components for the use of the walkthrough tool. The team, the leadership team, can consist of obviously the principal, including the social worker, sometimes the school psychologist, the resource teachers, math and reading interventionists, as well as any teachers who might be available to participate at any time that they do the walkthroughs. We right now are doing approximately 2 to 4 walkthroughs a month, and then the MTSS leadership team is looking at that data to celebrate the bright spots and to kind of hone in on some things that we feel we would like to work on. One of those things right now at the elementary level is getting back to some small group instruction. We were doing a little bit more whole class type of things because of the pandemic, but we're moving away from that and moving back to small group instruction and collaboration.
So as we know, teaching explicitly SEL is very important, but also embedding it throughout the day is equally as important. So giving teachers the practices that help to support SEL within the classroom, like morning meeting for that building of community. Interactive modeling is another example where this is an opportunity for a teacher to talk about a skill very explicitly, but then have students model and actually notice what's happening in the actual interaction. Energizers and brain breaks, because we know students might need that reset throughout the day. Talking about establishing rules so that the students are part of that and they feel connected to their classroom. And then, of course, logical consequences, academic choice, and many others.
Again, realizing the importance of the entire SEL, or social emotional learning component for our students that fosters the positive, safe, supportive, and inclusive learning community is something that we get started on right from the very beginning of the day. Most of the teachers are greeting students in some capacity at the door. We got very creative during COVID with some foot kicks and some air high fives, but the kids have actually helped to create some of the morning greetings. After that, during the morning meeting, there's a share out. Not every kid can share every day, and we understand that, but we give the kids a chance to actually conversate, as someone might say, or have a conversation about something. It might be a prompt, or it might just be something that we go around and have a few kids share out. The next piece of a morning meeting is to do an actual activity, and most of the time it is academic based. It might be a math skill that we're getting ready for. It might be a review of yesterday. It might be something, science vocabulary to get them ready for the experiment that they're going to do today. But there is a purposeful activity that's planned during the morning meeting to kind of kick off the day. And then the teacher always leaves the students with a handwritten morning message to kind of wish them well. And sometimes that morning message might even have some errors in it because it is used as a tool, and the kids will have a great time kind of looking for the errors that the teacher has made on purpose. So to date, we have, again, Mrs. Murray, our K-12 SEL integrationist, has been trained, numerous trainings, not only leadership training, but the 4-day training as well. As of August, last August, there was over 125 teachers trained, including not only our classroom teachers, our support professionals, and our itinerant teachers. They've all attended a 4-day training course. District team members such as myself, Superintendent Danbrook, and a number of other district members have not only done the 4-day, but again, the leadership training as well, and some of our elementary school principals have been trained. In moving forward, normally we ask for a 30-slot session, but what we'd like to do this year, and the reason that this is an agenda item, is we would like to increase it to 60 slots this year. Again, it is a 4-day training. We run 2 days in June. It will be a virtual training this year, 2 days in June and 2 days in August. All of the elementary principals will be included, and they will bring at least 2 to 3 other educators from their building with them, perhaps someone from the leadership team, or some regular classroom teachers, itinerants, anyone that they feel would be a great team member, because our goal is to have every school have an SEL team to continue with the responsive classroom work moving forward in the fall. So again, the reason it is an agenda item today is because I would like to request your approval for an additional $24,900 for responsive classroom training for 30 additional teachers over a 4-day period. The purchase request is funded through a Title IV grant and has been RIDE approved, so I request your approval moving forward. Thank you. And that is the last of all 3 presentations.
Thank you very much for those presentations. I would like to start with the first one for discussion. The field test presentation.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
sure, I would ask while Dave gets his questions ready.
Sure.
My only question pertains to each of the segments had the four scale. There was one section in particular that had a couple people that had gone for 2. Do we get feedback from?
We did, yes. The feedback that we got for the 9 people that chose the 2 was on the slide for the word work and foundational skills, and they thought that those should be 2 separate categories. And then Mrs. Sanat and I and Dr. Schultz were able to talk them through the GEODS program. And we're also going to be training our K-2 teachers in foundations as well. It works very well with Wit and Wisdom, and we have a lot of trained teachers in that already. So once we were able to clarify that for them, they were kind of a little more 3-ish.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Testa.
Thank you. I want to thank, I don't know who presented what, there was a lot. But I want to thank you for that. I can tell you, I've been attending school committee meetings for a lot of years, and I have never seen before such an emphasis as a district on achievement. And I can tell you it warms my heart, because that's the sine qua non of a school district is achievement. So I tip my hat to everybody involved in this. I'll get to the other point at a later agenda item, but I have just one question. It's more on the financials of this.
Yeah.
And just for the public's edification, this Wit and Wisdom K through 5 is a $600,000 expenditure. Okay? Curriculum isn't cheap. Aligned curriculum to what we're going to measure our kids on isn't cheap. If we want to run with curriculums that are not aligned, to what we're testing our kids, then we'll always be a mediocre achieving district. How can we measure someone on something that we know they're going to see, but we're not going to teach it? It's anyway. So the question I had is, on the first document, the professional development for $40,000 was scratched, and then the following document has professional development for $61,000. So I'm assuming that you can explain it.
I would love to speak to that. So for anyone that's following along, this is numbers 19 and 20 for Wit and Wisdom. I'm not sure if we're skipping ahead, but I can at least speak to it.
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay,
Thank you for pointing
perfect.
that out.
And so you're right. The reason that it is so expensive is because it is one of the top programs in the entire country that you can purchase. And Rhode Island has mandated that we can only select from a certain amount of programs. We looked at every single one that was green, which just means that it's been vetted by teachers, administrators, parents. People have looked through all these materials. It is the best. And so, believe it or not, Wit and Wisdom was the lowest price one that we looked at. If you can imagine that. It's not why we chose it. We wanted the teachers to choose this. They know what's best. They're in front of the students. And so they said overwhelmingly that Wit and Wisdom fit all those different look-fors that we wanted. And so it is quite expensive. Thank goodness we have ESSER grant money that is going to pay for this. We're so fortunate. I wish that Ann Cecil was here because she has done so much for us. And along with that, because of the ESSER funds, what we decided to do was bump up the PD a little bit so that we have an even better experience next year. We have a coach that's going to be going into every school, and she's going to be deploying all of her wisdom and her wit, and letting us know best teaching practices and just the best way to really reach teachers that might not understand the ins and outs of the program. And so with that, we felt like that was the best way to roll this out next year, was to bump up and get coaching. So that's why you see a little bit of increase with the PD.
Okay, thank you very much.
And if I can just add to that, that is a similarity to our GensNet program that we're doing with science, and the teachers and principals and students are absolutely loving that. And so we kind of took that model and are going forward with that with Wit and Wisdom as well.
And I'm very encouraged. I mean, we did GEMSNet a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, and this is a big ship, and you don't turn it around overnight, but I think we have put in place just about everything we need to do. Now we just need to focus, right? And just need to make sure, and if things change, like 3 years from now, and who the hell knows what, who knows what the Department of Ed is gonna put out there on the federal level and national level. We have to change with those changes. We can't just keep teaching the same thing for the next 15 years.
Right.
So, thank you. I have no other questions.
Thank you.
You actually asked my question, was on the financial end of it,
Okay.
so thank you for thoroughly going over that.
Sure.
That answered my questions, too. I'm glad we're gonna be able to get more teachers' professional development on this. Definitely necessary. Anyone else? So,
Madam Chair, can I make a motion that we, approve agenda item 19? Do you want to do one at a time or do them both?
yes, well, I'm listening
Okay.
over here. What was that? Right. It would be for 19 and 20.
19 and 20, yep. Okay, move approval of agenda items 19 and 20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
We then need to, should we then approve the two
Yeah, number 23.
and 25?
Right, let's start with 23 because we might have some discussion for that too
Okay.
before taking a vote. Any questions on that? That's the Panorama student dashboard.
Yes, Madam Chair, just give me 1 second. I don't know if I have,
I actually want to say, while he's looking for
Please,
his
go
questions,
ahead.
that I found this program, I actually found it to be a decent program, and I think you guys are doing a really good job trying to push the district further with all these different programs that help analyze our kids and make it better for all of us, because it's going to help everybody in the community, down to the kids even, parents, everyone, to be able to track their kids' progress and where their weaknesses and strengths are, and I think it's really important. So I'm like completely into that program. That was cool. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yep.
Thank you. I think Ms. Sinat probably said it best. This is an incredible time saver, and it just has to be. I work in the private sector, so dashboards, every day we're doing dashboards, because it allows you to take, and I can't imagine what goes on in a school every day, all the things you have to measure between the SEL stuff, the academic stuff, and everything else you have to measure. And I can just imagine how arduous of work that's got to be to pull all of this stuff together. So if a dashboard provides that quickly, I'm all for it. And just for the public certification, that's applying a private business practice to a school department, right? So it's not always the way people like to portray it. I would just say that this is something that, it's a 2-year contract. So in 2 years from now, we'll probably have to re-up this, right? We don't want to start changing dashboard programs and things like that. So this is an investment. This is an investment going forward that the district is choosing to make. I have no problems with it, so thank you.
Anyone else? Can I get a motion to approve?
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that was for the okay, the 23. So the next one is the number 25, which is the responsive classroom. And I'd like to open that up to discussion.
Madam Chair, hold on, I just have to, I had everything in order.
I actually can
You messed
go
me all up.
if
No,
you
it's
don't have them yet.
I think all my questions
It's
are answered.
my understanding, haven't we been doing responsive classroom for years now?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have. This is year 4 or 5 of the program, and every year we choose to train 30 individuals. We did take a COVID year off before we got good at virtual training, but this year we would like to bump it. This almost action is for
So-
the additional 30.
Right, so I saw there was a number and it clicked quickly to the next screen. How many teachers in our district would you say
We
have
have-
already had it?
We have over 125 teachers.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
Yep.
It clicked when I went to go write it down, so.
Yep.
Okay.
So
And,
again, instead of training 30 this summer, we would like to train 60.
so this has been going on for years?
Yes.
Right, that's what I thought.
I think we did take a little bit of a hit during the pandemic, you know,
Right,
when we
of
had to go
course.
virtual and distance
Right.
learning. So we're trying to kind of get back into the swing of things. And again, with the leadership team and using it as part of our walkthrough tool, I think, again, we're not doing it in silos anymore, and we're teaching to the whole child.
Now, the $24,900 to do 30 extra teachers that you were mentioning,
Yes.
Is that coming out of any
It is.
special funding?
It's coming out of Title IV, thanks to Dr. Cecil.
Oh, okay, thank you, that was my, excellent. Mr. Testa?
Thank you. Most of my questions were answered in the presentation, but I do have a couple more.
Sure.
And this may be more of an HR question, and Mr. Jerry's not here, but I know at one point, I think our goal was to have a psychologist and a social worker at, was it every elementary or every other? Or one team for two? You know what, that's an HR question. I'll wait to talk to Ms. Ruggieri later. In the presentation, you said that it's evidence-based, and I'm just trying to, what evidence? Give me an example of a piece of evidence.
Sure, I can have
From a-
Mrs.
from a-
Murray answer that.
It works.
Yeah, I know.
raise your-
Oh, no,
raise
I
your
know it works. We've been doing it for a few years. We've been doing it for as long as I've been here.
Right. So one of the measures that we do use is the schools. So we kind of went from a PBIS type of a program, which was very intrinsically, very based on trinkets. You know, you would be caught doing something good and you would, you know, get a sticker or this or that. And we decided to kind of move away from that a little bit because we want it to be more intrinsic. We wanted you to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. So we kind of moved away from the PBIS structure a little bit and went more towards the responsive classroom structure, again, embedding it kind of throughout the day. And the goal was, again, being data-based, the goal was to reduce the number of, we call them BDRs, they're behavioral discipline type of forms that teachers or lunch ladies would write out in case, you know, Bill did something at recess he wasn't supposed to do, Bill would get a write-up. So we look at that data and we've looked at how many write-ups that we historically have gotten at a certain time of day, and we can kind of drill down to recess, to arrival, to classwork, whatever. And then the goal was to use the responsive classroom approach to reduce the numbers of these ODRs or BDRs, which has been working. So we figured by bumping it from 30 teachers being trained up to 60 teachers being trained, getting the principals on board, and now moving forward to having these SEL teams at the building base level, we figure it's a win-win-win-win.
Okay, so the data, we have the data, we house the data, and we could retrieve the data if necessary.
We can.
And is that data something that can be periodically presented at a school committee meeting? And
We can.
Confidentiality, of
Amy
course.
Pinero is here with us tonight, and she helps
Right.
us with all of that. We can, and that's what some of the work is being done at the school level with the MTSS leadership teams. So monthly, they take a look at that, and it is shared at the building-based level, and they try to come up with strategies and skills and different things that they can do to kind of promote and kind of, we're kind of in that March, April phase right now, and as a parent, most of you know that it's a really tricky time of year for our kiddos. You know, we're not quite to spring yet. It's kind of dark. We're doing a lot of testing. So it's kind of a wiggly month. So it's time now to kind of reboot the program and do some reteaching. We use the Julia Cook books. They're not cooking books. They're Julia Cook books. My Mouth is a Volcano. You know, we might read that as a classroom lesson and do an activity that goes with that to kind of reteach the kids to, remember, you're supposed to kind of raise your hand if you have something to share,
Right.
but we do it in kind of a fun way.
Okay, good, because I think, you know, it's like anything else. At some point, maybe it just becomes a standing agenda item at a periodic meeting. So the more we can report this information out to the public, the more they know, right?
Sure.
And that's beneficial all the way around. And I do realize, I mean, I had 3 kids, and when they were that age, sometimes they were a challenge.
We call them wiggly.
Yeah, so, you know, I realize we have them for 6.5 hours a day, So I think we just endeavor to do the best we can while we have them for the 6th and
Right.
or that period of time.
And again, as you saw in the slides, the brain breaks is what they're called, and there's a lot of movement breaks kind of throughout the day. There's also a number of books that go with the program. I particularly enjoyed the book Yardsticks, and it gives you the milestones at chronological age, social emotional age of a student. And as former principal of Warwick, I actually redid my entire lunch program because the book stated that 5th grade students are almost need as much as a kindergarten student, where they need movement and they need food more often than other age students. So we had lunch for K, then we had lunch for 5, then we had the rest of the lunches, and it was based on that particular book.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I learned more in the last 5 minutes than I have in the last, well, I've been on it for 6, but I've been down there for about 20, so thank you.
Thank you.
That was interesting. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for your hard work. Okay, going back to number 2 on our agenda. Discussion and update on upcoming summer construction projects. Mr. Gothberg.
Good evening, Madam Chair, committee members, Superintendent. A quick update on what's going on this summer. Bids are coming in, and we have running into some budget issues, so I thought I would update the committee and the community on how we're doing with it. So with Sherman bid opening is coming up on April 26th. A couple things we're doing is to try and keep costs down as we're dealing directly with WB Mason through the RIMPA buying direct. And we're going to deal with them on shelving, cubbies, library, furniture and shelving, whiteboards, et cetera. We're trying to keep the costs down. Lead times on HVAC equipment and windows have jumped again. Windows have gone back to 24 to 26 weeks lead time. HVAC rooftop equipment has now jumped to 37 weeks. Even taking that into consideration, we know it's going to impact the schedule and how we plan to run the job, but we still are aiming for Christmas vacation return. Hoxie, the bid came in for a Hoxie combined project, which is HVAC and ADA upgrades, 1.2 million over budget. We have $400K left from the roofing project that was done 2 years ago, leaving us just under $800,000 over budget. I received permission from Building Committee today to negotiate with the low bidder, who is E.W. Berman. We're going to meet with them on Thursday and hopefully grab a few dollars there. And then I went over with the Building Committee what our options were. So we have some money still left from Drumrock, Pilgrim, and Tollgate that's not going to be used. So after much deliberation, easier to say, it was decided that we're going to use the money that's needed to do these projects this year. Over at Windman, there were only 2 bidders because of the complexity of the project. Marin was low in the original at $14.5 million, which was well over budget. Aalborg was second at 14.9, I believe. So we received permission from the Building Committee to negotiate with both bidders since there are only 2. We came up with some value engineering options, schedule adaptation, items where we looked we could probably save some money. Aalborg came in at 13.65 on the last and best offer. Marin came in at $14,225,000. If we use all the money that was transferred from Pilgrim to Windman and use all the money that's available in all the projects that are earmarked for this combined project, it leaves us enough to pay for the move, to move everything out and in that we need to do, and leaves us $500,000 in contingency, which I believe is just enough. So we are going to award the project to Aalborg and move ahead with the project. Other projects that are coming up are the site work project at Scott, which we hope to have out to bid at the end of the month. The site work parking lot reconfiguration project by the end of the month. It's more of a drainage project. So hopefully we can get rid of that pond that forms when we have a hard rain. Greenwood, the site work project, including the ramp out in front and abatement, we hope to have out by mid-May. So we believe that we have the money we needed for those projects since it's not an equipment issue and the long lead time stuff. And so I'll talk just quickly about looking forward. As we move forward, most of our projects as we go forward are HVAC, windows, the building envelope, site work, electrical. I see that we're going to be dealing with runaway cost. I believe we're going to be way over budget on most of our projects, and we have limited funds. There's nowhere to get additional funds. We will use what's left over from Pilgrim, Drumrock, and Tollgate. But as we move forward, tough decisions are going to have to be made by the building committee. A couple of the options we've talked about is limiting scope and possibly not doing certain portions projects. Windows maybe. We're going to have to look at options. I think that the critical thing is to get the HVAC projects in and move forward with those. One of the things we have looked at is instead of strict HVAC, using what they call an induction system, which is a loop-type heating system, but using tempered fresh air intake, which will lessen the temperature a little bit, get down to 76, 78, but dehumidifying. So since most of the school year is within temperate time period, we believe that we can make the buildings comfortable in September and June and still achieve the goals that we were reaching for. So that's the update. Happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, if I may, thank you, Mr. Gothberg. The comment I would make is that, I want to thank you for all the work that you're doing, you and your team are doing, because we have an incredibly ambitious list of projects that we're trying to accomplish. And we have been pedal to the metal for the last 3.5, 4 years. And that's a testament to your leadership in that area. With respect to the tempered air system you described, just for the public's edification, that's what East Providence put in their high school. They just built a brand new high school. They don't have a traditional HVAC system in that school. So, again, we're not ready to go out to bid on all the other elementary school projects yet, but we are running into this whipsaw of inflation, lead time, and COVID-related crap. So, the Hoxie bid was quite a shock at $1.1 million over budget, because up until this time, we've been doing really well in budget versus where the bids come in at. So we still have a little time. I'm not a fan of reducing scope, as you know, as we mentioned this morning, but we'll do what we have. We'll make the best decision that we can make. So it's still exciting knowing that we're going to modernize these buildings. Thank you.
Mr. Gothberg, I had a heart attack.
What's that?
I had a mild heart attack. I know, projects go over budget. I know that you can't control any of this. You're seeing the Hoxie is 1.2 million over budget. I do have a question on this, just as a layman, and it's not someone who's into construction. Are we seeing these over budget projects going that much over budget because of the shortage of supplies?
Yeah, it's strictly supply chain, and things didn't happen for 2 years, and all of a sudden there's a glut of work.
Right.
I see gouging, not contractors, but I see gouging in the supply chain.
Okay,
That's
that
what
was
I
my
see.
second question.
Yeah,
Right.
That's what I see. Can I prove it? No. And I may be assailed for that accusation, but 30, 40, 50% price increases month, it's just not so. We're looking at HVAC, we're looking at another 10% increase April 21st. And the lead time jumps don't make any sense to me. When I'm told 3 weeks ago that, no, you'll get this stuff 24 weeks, no problem. Then 2 weeks later, we go to put the order in, they're saying now 37 weeks.
Right,
I have no answers for that.
right. I was just, the layman question, it's obviously happening in every industry, and
Right.
I would assume that is,
I
like you
really-
just
I
said,
really
there's a
believe
30 to 40% increase on
Right.
some items that's gonna jack the prices up so badly for
I mean,
us.
when I did these original budgets, which, admittedly was, 3 years ago for the HVAC, I took what we had for realistic numbers, and I added, depending on the project, what, either 8%, 15% projection for, potential increases, which was, 3% a year was fairly standard. There's no way we could plan for 30, 40, 50% increases.
Yeah, this was shocking, but
Yeah.
I too am thankful that we have you at the helm, and you're doing,
Well,
I know, the best you can.
We do our best, and we've got a great.
I know we can't control the prices of things right now, just like in every industry, so, okay, I'm just gonna go to bed with my heart attack tonight.
Yeah,
And obviously, we're gonna have to make some really tough decisions.
We've got a great building committee led by Mr. Testa.
Absolutely.
And they'll make some intelligent decisions on what needs to get done.
I'm sure they will. I have good faith in all of you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Goldberg. Anyone else?
My questions were answered.
You got it, okay. Okay, next, the well-weighted number 3, the discussion action of the 22-23 school calendar. Ms. Danbrook.
Madam Chair, members of the school committee, you have before you 2 options. You have option A and option B. We are following, for vacation weeks, we are following the state calendar that was sent out to all school districts. We have all the holidays marked in pink that we are taking. And also, if you noticed, in March, there is a professional development day on the Monday, which would be a distance learning day. So this year, there were more professional development days embedded in the school year, which didn't count towards 180 days, and that was acceptable for RIDE. Well, we no longer can do that, so if we wanted to add any more professional development days, then the work year would be longer. So we'll be creative with our professional development. Like Annalise, she went into Norwood School last year and did on-site coaching. So we'll be looking for models like that. The difference between the 2 calendars, we also will be doing some professional development on teacher orientation day as well. The difference between the 2 calendars are the vacation weeks. If you notice in November, the vacation before Thanksgiving starts the 23rd. And in option B, it starts the 24th on Thursday, the actual Thanksgiving day. The same with Christmas. Christmas in option A starts on the 24th. Starts on the 23rd, and on option B, it starts on the 24th. So those are the 2 different. So it's a matter of 2 days. If you want to have a longer Thanksgiving break and a longer Christmas break, then the students will be getting out of school on June 20th. If not, then it would be the June 16th date for the last day of school.
The only difference here is you end the 16th or you end the 20th, so I would defer to the superintendent, whatever you think is best for administration and staff, faculty, and I don't have an opinion one way or the other with these, so I'll pick anyone.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Cornell.
So this is a tough one, because usually when calendars come out, we get many emails on this, but I didn't really get any emails at all from last time I checked, so it's hard to know what the community really wants. And so now I'm trying to think from a previous student's perspective, because a few years ago I was a student in Warwick schools, like, would I want a longer Christmas and Thanksgiving vacation, or do I want a longer summer? So it's a tough one.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I do believe the feedback that I have received, that the teachers and the staff did value having the extra day before Thanksgiving off to prepare for Thanksgiving and be with their families, and if they had to travel. So
It's not much of a big difference, but to some there might be. Is there,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
is there PD on orientation day?
yes, this part, all right, no. There is, orientation day would be work with the principals in the school. Well, school planning day,
Can I let her?
yes. School planning day, there will be some professional development. Orientation day is when the teachers get to set up their room. meet
Okay,
with
so
the
they're gonna have a
principals.
full day to do that.
They'll have part of the day,
Okay.
usually.
Okay. So, we need to a vote. Do I have a motion for option B? Where they get out earlier in the summer, or, I mean, we have to come together here. I mean,
Madam Chair,
it's either they get a longer Thanksgiving and a longer Christmas, or they get out earlier and,
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
If I may, I have a question for Superintendent Jambrook. I was actually just talking to Mr. Testa about this. I know that on option, it was A, option A ends on a Tuesday, which is like the separate week, is on the following week than option B, which ends on the 16th. Now, if we were to have a snow day like we did have this year,
Exactly.
how much of a hassle is that going to be to add like that, go into that next week?
that's the way.
So at this point in time, RIDE has not told us how many virtual learning days we can have. At first, last year, they gave us 5, but then they realized because of the amount of COVID cases that they needed to extend over the 5 virtual days. So if they don't give us many virtual days, then there'll be more snow days, and it would be a little bit longer at the end of the year if we have a snowy winter.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I think at the last meeting, I would, if we have snow days, I think I said I'd like to use distance learning as learning of last resort if possible. So, you know, in my mind, if we had a snow day or 2, we would tack them on to the end of the year. So, because I don't think distance learning.
Actually, Mr. Testa, I agree with you on that.
Right.
In the climate that we've been in, also with the pandemic, I would like to aim for earlier in case something happens and we have to go later. That's why I would be choosing for option B. And I agree with you, I'm not big on the distance learning, and if we can cut down on that without making kids go further into the summer,
Yeah, and
I think it's a great idea.
Right, and I think the only difference is, if you go with option B and the last day is the 16th, if there's a snow day or 2, you're into the week of the 20th.
Right.
You know, so if you have 2 snow days, 3 is a bad year. You're still in that same week.
Right.
So I think, now that I think about it, if you're gonna be potentially into that week of the 20th, and there's an advantage to having the day before Thanksgiving for people to travel, and the day before Christmas Eve to have people to travel, then go that route. As long as we're all aware that we could be in school the week of up to the 21st, 22nd. So, I think there'd be more pushback if, I think the day before Thanksgiving is becoming an expected travel day for a lot of people, so, and for families. So, actually, Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we adopt option A. I agree. Which would make the last day of school the 20th.
It's up to you, Nathan.
That's my motion.
I second it.
Okay, the motion for A is on the table. All in favor, we're gonna do a roll call on this one. Mr. Testa?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Cornell?
Aye.
I'm gonna have to say nay, I wanted B, but they are very similar to each other. So, the ayes have it, it's 3-1, Cobden descending. Thank you, everyone. My biggest thing is making sure that we're on with the rest of the state for vacations. I think that's the most important thing about this calendar, to be honest.
For me, like, I don't have a community, just too much.
Okay, now that that's over. Number 4, discussion update, the FY 2022 monthly financial report, year-end report. Requisitions approved $500 to $4,999. Mr. McGrath.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school committee. Before you, you'll find my monthly fiscal report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Madam Chair, I have one or two questions.
Yes,
for
Mr. Testa,
McGrath.
please go.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath, if I read your statement, as of right now, you're expecting $1.5 million deficit, but that's probably going to be ESSER expenses? They just have to be shifted and
Yeah, when you look at the direct expenses, yes, we're $1.5 million over, but that's money that's going to be reclassed out of the general fund and into ESSER. So if you look at the actual 7-page report, it shows the zero balance, and I was just indicating that money needs to shift as part of just an accounting process.
Okay. And the second question I have is, as we stand today in this current budget, are there line items going through the end of the year that are potentially problematic?
Not problematic. There's opportunities, usually tuitions on other ones that have open POs. We'll close those out, so we're going to be working on that over the next couple months. But other than that, there's nothing jumping out that I haven't indicated previously in terms of payroll, health insurance. That one's always a wild card depending on how the claims fall. But yeah, everything I've indicated has been pretty much
Okay.
aligned since the December projections. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think we're good.
Just move approval of, do we have to approve that?
No, we don't.
I'm
That's just
sorry.
an
Yeah,
update.
please.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath. Okay, number 5, discussion action, administrator and manual management contract terms. Ms. DeAmbrook?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, I respectfully ask that you approve the contracts that I shared with you during the executive session.
Move approval. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, number 6, change order technology, Wally Computer Associates. Dr. Taylor?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the school committee. What we have on this item is a change order for the Promethean board stands that were approved and purchased back towards the beginning of the school year. The shipping was omitted from the requisition, so we need to seek your approval on that.
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Number 8, discussion action, change order maintenance, Mumford Cesspool Service. Mr. Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Chromebooks, student Chromebooks. So it's number 7 is discussion action, contract award technology, student Chromebooks, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What we have before you this evening is what's become our annual process of seeking approval to purchase the next round of student Chromebooks. We seek approval now, so that way they're in hand and able to be distributed to students, hopefully either prior to the summer vacation or certainly prior to the start of the school year. That's aligned with our process of every student in grades 1, 5, and 9 receiving a new Chromebook each year. And what we have before you this evening is hopefully approval for that purchase so we can get rolling on that. This is a ESSER-funded expense through ESSER 3 and part of the budget and approved by RIDE.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, Dr. Taylor.
Dr. Taylor, lead time issues,
That's
Not an
what-
issue anymore like they were a year ago?
Nope, not an issue as it was a year ago. And what we did just process-wise, certainly for everybody's information, the community's information as well, is we took a look at 3 samples, and we had our technician team take them apart, look at them for items of parts, durability, lead time was part of our rubric as well as cost. And the device that met all of that, including lead time, was the device we have before you this evening. And the lead time looks to be very good. I plan to order tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have it in hand in the next month or so.
Thank you.
Awesome,
Thank you.
thank you. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you.
Before we go to the next item, I'm wondering if we can turn those 2 blue lights off, because it's making me, it's very hard for me to see and read. Do they go off? I laughed at that, too. Okay, while you're looking into that, we can continue. I'm just having a hard time. I have a very bad glare on my paper. So now we're on to discussion action number 8, change order maintenance from Mumford Cesspool Service. Mr. Oliver.
Good evening. I'm requesting your approval on this change order request. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Madam Chair, I do have a question. What was this for?
So Mumford Cesspool Company also runs a,
Thank you. It's off, though.
Hold that thought.
yep.
Thank you so much. Oh, it's so much better.
Just like super rapid fire.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. So this was for Sherman School, and we had to clean the building out. Mumford Cesspool Company also has a branch that handles dumpsters, and we use them for our dumpster disposal.
Okay.
And the reason for the overage was because of tipping fees and the numerous times we had to empty the dumpsters.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is again Mr. Oliver for discussion action on contract award maintenance pump and motor assembly, Greenwood and Oakland Beach.
Seeking your approval on this contract award. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I just want to make everybody aware this is not a budgeted expense.
Ouch.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Oliver, these are, what are they pumps for?
The circulator pumps for the heating system.
Okay. And so those are old heating systems in those
Correct.
buildings, right?
Correct.
Okay, okay, thank you. Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And number 10 is discussion action contract award maintenance indoor, outdoor ductless units, Ed Tech Center. Mr. Oliver.
Yes, I'm requesting your approval on this contract. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Madam Chair, I do have one.
Yes, Mr. Testa.
How old is the unit that was there?
It was actually recycled from another building that probably about 10 years ago. And I don't know the exact age of it.
Okay. No, I was just wondering, so that's fine. I want to call you the king of unbudgeted, but tonight you're the king of unbudgeted, so. Okay, thank you. I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 11, discussion action, contract award maintenance, Windman Middle School lab move.
Good evening. I'm requesting your approval on this contract. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Madam Chair, I do have one. Mr. Gothberg, this involved you too, right?
This is separate from the move. This is all the science chemicals
Right.
that Mr. Oliver's going to pick up.
Okay,
I'll pick up the big number he's picking up.
Right.
okay. I remember that now.
I
Okay.
do remember this, too.
Thank you. I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 12, discussion action, contract awards, secondary graduation ceremony. Exciting, Mr. McCaffrey.
Madam Chair, members of the school committee, I ask your support for a contract to Audiovisual Services, doing business as New England Audiovisual Services, for graduation services regarding audiovisual, restrooms, chairs, stages, generator power necessary to host the graduation ceremony at the Aldridge Mansion. Please note the company is a Warwick company. We used to do business with them, and they were very aggressive in providing us the best price for these services.
Discussion?
I'd move approval.
Second.
Just got a discussion. This is the company that we discussed is also going to be providing us a better stage? Or is
Yes,
this just the audio?
yes,
Oh, they're doing the
yes.
whole thing then?
They're going to do the stage, chairs,
Right, so it's
screens,
the
sound
19,000,
system. Yep.
right. Okay,
Oh, Madam Chair, Mr. McCaffrey, this is below what we would typically have budgeted when we were going to the
Yes.
CCRI, very palatial
Yes.
and spacious
Yep.
CCRI field house.
and they're going to have a good stage, so when they walk off, they don't look like they're going to fall on us?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think it's excellent.
Yeah,
Well
it-
done on this.
Yeah, it's good. Last year, you couldn't ask for better weather for last year's graduation. The whole thing here is weather, but I think it's good. So, it's moved, right? It's already moved and seconded? Yep. Okay.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is discussion action, bid award for athletics, Tollgate Wrestling uniforms. Mr. Ricks.
Good morning, good evening, Madam Chair, committee members. I come before you today to seek approval to purchase the new wrestling singlets. Happy to answer any questions.
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next one is Pilgrim field hockey uniforms.
This is in the same regard, yes. Field hockey uniforms are due to be updated, and I request that you allow us to purchase them.
I'd move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And discussion action on the contract award for Vets Middle School wrestling mats.
Yes, so we have replaced the mats at Pilgrim, Tollgate, and we bought them for Windman. Vets wrestling mats is well over 10 years old. The life of a wrestling mat's usually 10 years old, and then they can only be repaired so many times. And once they start to get so many cracks, that's when germs and whatnot seep in. I attempted to budget this last year, but it didn't make it. This is a budgeted item for this year, and I'm requesting permission to purchase the mats for veterans.
Move approval. Answered
Second.
my question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Ricks. Next is number 16, change order for the Career and Tech Center, Burmax. Mr. Kane.
I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And discussion action bid award for the Career and Tech Center multifunction school activity bus. And that's you again, Mr. Kane?
Yep, this was previously voted on. Unfortunately, like Mr. Gothberg says, the country is running out of supplies, so there were no more buses, and the costs had gone up significantly. So we no longer had the funding. I was able to apply for a second grant, which I had planned on doing anyway, for a second bus. So now we're going to combine those two grants at no cost to the district to get the first one and have a bulk left over to reapply again next year.
Excellent.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I have one question for Mr. Kane.
Yes,
So
sure.
this is really, I hate to overuse the word supply chain, but it's a supply chain issue. This wasn't a process issue on our end.
No, they shut down the factories throughout the country. Even when I get approval tonight, assuming I get it, it's going to probably be 12 to 14 months to get that bus in.
Crazy.
Okay,
This is just to order it.
gotcha. Thank you. I move
Crazy.
approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the next one is the bid award for the Career and Tech Center Studio 107 computers.
We were able to secure additional Perkins funding for this purchase. Essentially, it's to take the Studio 107, the existing Apple computers, update them, make them state-of-the-art based upon the industry-specific standards. Once again, it's at no cost to the district.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Ken. Thank you. Studio 107 is one of my favorite programs we run. I got my Studio 107 pen here. I move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kane. So we already did 19 and 20, so we're going to 21 now. Discussion action on the contract award curriculum, Foundations Professional Development, and that is Dr. Schultz.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to ask for your approval, and this one actually goes with the next item as well, because this is the professional development and materials for foundations. This works well, as was mentioned previously with the new Wit and Wisdom program that was thankfully approved this evening, and it helps give teachers in grades K to 2 a real strong knowledge of a phonics-based approach for the students, and they're going through and learning, the alphabet, the sounds that are attached to it, and they're able to read very quickly with this program. It's proven, it's excellent, we've used it for years, and this way we can expand and train everyone up to grade 2. So I'm hoping for your approval this evening. This is funded through ESSER 3 and Title IV grant money.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we go to we did 22, 23, now we're on to 24. Discussion action, contract award curriculum into literature, high school English materials. Dr. Schultz again.
Yes, thank you. So before you, this is the proposal for the Into Literature High School English materials. And as I mentioned before about the green status of the materials, it's the highest quality. The teachers voted, it was almost unanimous. I had a forum with all of the high school teachers present, and they really seem to like this program. And so if you approve it this evening, it is funded through ESSER 3 and the CLSD grant, which is for secondary schools. So it's no cost to us right now. And if we approve it tonight, then we can get materials in teachers' hands and in the hands of our students immediately.
Excellent.
Madam Chair, I have one question.
Sure.
Yes, Mr. Testa.
Thank you, Dr. Schultz. This is for 3 years?
This
So
is a 3-year contract,
A
yes.
3-year contract, so it's one payment of $249.
Yes.
Okay, and again, for the public's
it's covered.
edification, between two curriculums, you spend $1 million.
Yes.
It's $1 million for curriculum. So, if it was, it's just not cheap, that's all.
Nothing's
I move
cheap.
approval.
It's the best, so. yeah, it's
All in
expensive.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And don't go anywhere, Dr. Schultz,
Yes.
because now you're number 26, as we already did 25. The Annalise Record Math Coaching PD.
Yes, thank you. This is what Superintendent Danbrick mentioned before. Since we're going to be not having as many professional development days next year, we do have to get creative. One of the ways is by having a coach come into the schools. And Annalise Records has been working with our Title I schools this year. She's fantastic and really is able to present best practices to teachers. So she'll be grabbing groups of teachers, coaching them during the school day, so we don't actually have to use that time during professional development days. It's more organic that way, and she has a proven record of success. So I just ask for your approval on this. And again, this is funded through ESSER 3.
Right.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And it's you again, for contract award curriculum for Read 108 licenses and materials.
Yes, it's actually Read 180. I don't think it really matters. It's a fantastic program. The interventionists at the secondary level, so all of our middle school and high school interventionists have been begging for something to work with students on literacy. And this will help close those gaps for our students who are struggling, for our Tier 2, Tier 3 students. And so this is a program that really explicitly has students going onto a computer that will work with them in small groups. Then it has the teachers working with a different group of small instruction happening at the same time. It really differentiates. It helps give the teachers a great toolbox to use, and I just ask that you approve this. This is also funded through ESSER 3.
Madam Chair, I have one question.
Yes, Mr.
Thank you,
Testa.
Dr. Schultz. What did we do before?
It was kind of piecemeal. You know, we're lucky because our interventionists have been with us for a long time, and they've been able to take things. Some of them were at the elementary level for years, and they grabbed things from that. Some have been Wilson trained, some have all different types of trainings that they've been pulling from, but a lot of it has come from just different resources online. And so they were so excited that we were able to pilot it earlier this year. You had approved that, and they love it. It gives you everything that you need for the students. They don't have to go racing to teacher pay teacher online or Facebook groups, anything like that. It's a time saver, and it's a proven intervention. So it was pretty much piecemeal.
Yeah, because that was, if I remember correctly, whether it was in the NIAS reports or another report, they did one of the criticisms leveled here was that teachers are on their own for materials, which is, okay, thank you. Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And number 28, it's you again, Dr. Schultz. It's dyslexia program at URI.
Yes, so this is just an outstanding payment that this was actually approved last summer, I believe. We just need to pay URI for it. This was fully funded by the CLSD grant as well, and we were able to send 7 educators into this program. It helps to meet the needs of the Right to Read Act in Rhode Island, and it was an excellent training that the teachers received. So if we could pay the outstanding invoice, that would be wonderful, and so I just ask for your approval on this.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Dr.
overdue.
Schultz. Next, we have our final public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment on anything that's not on the agenda or on the agenda? Okay, we have a few. Come on down.
Jacob Maduro, Warwick resident, product of the Warwick school system. It's been a long time since I've taken public comment. I wasn't originally going to take public comment tonight, but before I talk about social emotional learning, I had an anecdote from a class I've taught that I really thought summed it up well, and I wanted to share it with you. And again, I want to preface this by saying that this is nothing against any of the administration, nothing against any of the school committee. The fact that social emotional learning repeatedly came up in the agenda, I think, speaks to the fact that you get it and you acknowledge and you know its importance. At that same time, when you have that personal face, it really caves it in that much more of the importance of social emotional learning. One of my big things is that students are not statistics, that each student has a background, a story, they have a family, maybe a job, and we need to acknowledge that, and there's just not a name, there's just not a number, there's just not a face. With that said, I at least get to take the time to get to know all of my students. And with that said, with my Western Civ guys, I did a lesson on the 1918 flu pandemic. So I found this great video, it was about 7 minutes, that walked it through, and if you didn't have the contextual information, and you didn't see the images, you would trail it was COVID-19. The details lined up perfectly. And then we did a little share about what they thought about the video. We did a Jamboard about comparing the two pandemics. And then I gave them a prompt. I gave them a prompt that didn't directly have to do with the video, but it goes into that whole social emotional learning idea. The prompt was, everyone is living through what will someday be considered history. Decades from now, it is the collection of your stories which will help make up the history of events you lived through. Your task is to record your personal lived experiences of the COVID-19 pandemic. Someday, decades from now, your child or grandchild will ask you where you were and what you did. Just as you can in the future, feel free to share as much or as little of your personal story as you feel comfortable with. So when I gave them this assignment, I was expecting a few people might share a little bit, but it would be an opportunity for everyone to reflect. And that alone, even though I might not see any stories on paper of the details, would be beneficial use of class time. With this said, what they wrote amazed me, it stunned me. It took me days to process it. And anyone who knows me will know that I am not someone who is easily speechless, and also will know that I am honest to a fault. If I give a compliment, it means it's a compliment. I speak my truth. With that said, I was absolutely speechless, and I can't go on, and I can go on and on about what they wrote. And it really changed, and I know my students very well. It changed how I look at them, it changed what I know about them, and I'm the type of teacher who went through Aspen for hours on Saturday looking at every single student's profile, and there were things that you would never know, and probably no one knows in the school system. It was their story, it was their reality, it was their truth. Things about divorce, anxiety, depression, death of friends, death of family, to the point where we took a whole class period, I gave them an assignment, and I talked to everyone one-on-one because commenting on it I didn't feel was appropriate. And I told them I was honored and I was humbled. And they said so, and I thought so, but it was literally brought up by them that that was their favorite lesson. That was the lesson that meant the most to them. And I say all of this, and this is a long anecdote to say, for why I'm telling you this story. One, I wanted to acknowledge their truth and brag about them, because then I did it before my other classes. But more importantly, I wanted to, just another reminder, I know you guys get it, but students are not statistics. And the importance of social-emotional learning, and to advocate that at the high school and the middle school level, because they're going through things that no one knows. The stuff they wrote, I had nothing to say for hours, and I can't remember the last time I was speechless for a couple minutes. And all I did is I asked, I built a rapport with them, I asked them their story, and then all I did was listen. So just a reminder, always ask and listen. Thank you.
My comment's a little more mundane. We saw some presentations. I was just wondering if those could be put on the website so we could digest them at a later. Because that happens frequently at school committee meetings. We see presentations. It's nice, though, for the public to be able to go back and look at all of the slides more carefully. And I also want to point out, we had Read 180 in this district a while ago. You know, I've brought this up before. We did things in the past that were good, and somehow they went away, not blaming previous administrations, so I guess I am. But, you know, secondary literacy has suffered, so it is coming back, and that is good. I mean, I was part of when we first introduced literacy into the high school. I was teaching Tier 2, and we did have balanced literacy workshops and PD. We did get PD on teaching literacy back then. So it's not like we've been totally left alone, but I've mentioned it before, the previous administration kind of killed definitely high school literacy by eliminating any kind of screening or progress monitoring. So it's good that Read 180's back. And then I just want to clarify one thing about my leave of absence. It's not a full leave of absence. Contractually, as a union president, I can have like a 50% leave of absence. So I teach a half schedule because I love teaching, and I can't imagine being out of the classroom. So I do teach at Tollgate, and then I do union business. And my kids don't know that, although maybe now they will, if they're listening. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Our future meetings, one, we have a special school committee meeting for the FY 23 budget on Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Just a reminder so people know, on that day we'll be not having public comment, as this is a meeting for brainstorming. We then have another special school committee meeting for the FY 23 budget when we vote, and that will be on Tuesday, April 26, 2022, and we will have public comment, as this is the day we will be voting, and we do want to hear people's concerns and suggestions. And our monthly school committee meeting is Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. And at this time, I'd like to wish everyone who celebrates Passover a wonderful holiday, L'Shana Tova. And everyone who celebrates Easter, I hope you have a wonderful holiday and a great vacation to all our students and teachers and staff. And I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.